Hello and welcome to The Simple Dollar. My name is Nicole, and today we are exploring the topic of whether or not you should be using a credit card to pay your regular monthly bills. This might have been a question that you have thought about before, but just didn't have a framework for figuring out whether or not it will work for you or not. So if that is the case, then this is the video for you. Now, a lot of times when we think about paying bills with a credit card, it's in a situation where we're strapped for cash or we are counting down the days until payday comes around so that we'll have the money to cover the bills. But that's not always the situation. Sometimes there are other scenarios in which using a credit card to pay your bills makes sense, and it's not just because you are out of cash. And of course, there are some times when it absolutely does not make sense to use a credit card, and we'll talk about that as well. Now, before we dive into that, I want to first of all welcome you here if you are new to The Simple Dollar. And of course, in addition to our YouTube channel, don't forget to check out thesimpledollar.com, where we have thousands of articles to help you regardless of where you are on your financial journey, whether you are learning how to budget, save more, invest. Wherever you are headed in your finances, we got you covered. Now let's get back to talking about these credit cards. First off, let's talk about some scenarios where it makes perfect sense to use a credit card to cover your monthly bills. Number one is if you have bills that you want to pay automatically. All of us have bills that come up maybe once, twice, or 3 times a year, maybe once per quarter, and those are bills that are easy to overlook and forget. To make sure that you're not missing important deadlines for certain bills, you might want to just put them automatically on a credit card so that way you don't overlook it and forget and miss the deadline. Some other expenses that are good candidates for set it and forget it, just put it on a credit card and go about your business, include things like your cell phone bill, your car insurance, your internet, and maybe your cable. These are bills that don't change very much from month to month, and oftentimes it's easy to just log into your online account, set a credit card in there, and then it pays it automatically when the due date rolls around. And naturally, when it's time to pay the credit card bill, make sure that you pay the bill on time and in full every single month. Another reason to consider using your credit card to pay your monthly bills is if you want to earn additional rewards. If you decide to use a rewards credit card, you could just make your regular everyday purchases that you would ordinarily be making anyway. And in addition to that, you can accumulate bonus points that can be used towards cash back or airline miles. An additional benefit of putting these regular monthly recurring bills onto your credit card is that it helps to maintain your credit score, which might be a priority for you if you're looking to maybe finance a car later down the line or apply for a mortgage. Now, just in case you're curious about which credit cards offer the best rewards programs, I'll be sure to link an article in the description that covers that in detail, and then you can decide which credit card works best for you. Another reason to consider using your credit card to pay your regular monthly bills is if you want to take advantage of some additional consumer protections that come along with using that card. We've already talked about the benefit of the rewards programs that come along with credit cards, but in addition to that, there are some other perks that we don't often think about. Some of these additional perks that we don't often think about include things like purchase protection, also zero liability for fraud if it does occur, and a lot of times you can get the auto insurance covered for your rental car completely for free. By using your credit card to cover these regular purchases and to cover your regular recurring monthly expenses, you'll be able to get an additional layer of security every time you make an additional purchase. Now, this next point that I'm gonna make might seem a little bit controversial on the surface, but just hear me out. You might wanna consider using your credit card for your regular monthly bills if you're looking for an easy way to track your spending. Now, I can already hear the wheels turning in your mind because we all know someone who has gotten into debt because of credit cards. And for this reason, credit cards do get a bad rap. However, credit cards can be used as a budgeting tool when used correctly. So the way that this works is that every single time you make a purchase in a store or you use your credit card online to pay a bill, the credit card account automatically tracks all of those transactions anyway. And when it comes time to reconcile your budget, it makes it very easy to see exactly how much you spent in each category, whether that is on food or whether it is on gas for your car or how much you spent on your utilities for that month. There's no need to track a bunch of receipts or write down every single transaction that you make because the credit card account automatically does it for you. And another reason to consider using your credit cards to pay your regular monthly bills is if you just simply hate writing checks. In addition to all of the other benefits that we've already talked about, you can also simplify your life because you no longer have to pay money for checks or pay money for stamps and envelopes, and you can save time by just paying your bills online instead of dropping them off at the post office. And as an added bonus, your payment will likely post a lot faster than if you were paying with a paper check. Now let's chat about some scenarios where it does not make sense to pay your bills with a credit card. You might want to avoid using your credit card to pay a bill if you have to pay an additional fee to use that credit card. Many times businesses will have to pay a merchant fee of 2 or 3% to accept credit cards, and sometimes they will pass that fee on to you as the consumer. So if your HOA or your landscaping company says, yes, we accept credit cards, but only if you pay this additional 3% fee, I would probably pass. In a scenario like that, you might just want to break out the checkbook and write a good old-fashioned paper check. And of course, you'll want to avoid using your credit card for your bills if you are already struggling with debt. Currently, you might be making a bunch of effort to get yourself out of debt, and it just does not make a lot of sense to go ahead and use those credit cards again and reaccumulate those balances. There might be some instances where we reach for that credit card in lean times, but that should be a temporary situation. If you're finding yourself using your credit cards as a crutch every single month, then that's a recipe for disaster. Bottom line here is that if you're in debt, it is better to stash those credit cards somewhere safe and instead pay your bills from your bank account. And finally, you might want to avoid the credit cards if what you're really looking for is a short-term loan. If you're absolutely strapped for cash and you can't afford to pay your bills, that's an entirely different situation. In that case, a credit card might work for you, but you have to reach for the right one. Fortunately, if you do find yourself in this situation, there are a ton of 0% interest credit cards that you could use to help cover the shortfall. This will work best if you take advantage of the introductory period and then also aggressively pay down the balance as quickly as possible. The bottom line here is that there are times when it makes absolute sense to pay your bills with a credit card, and there are also times when it doesn't make sense. Ultimately, everyone's situation is different, and it's going to be up to you to decide what is best for you, but hopefully this video provided a framework for you to make the decision pretty easily for yourself. Remember that if you have cash on hand to cover the bills anyway, this is a perfect scenario to take advantage of some additional perks that the credit card has to offer, like bonus points and rewards. But on the other hand, if you're already struggling financially and you're using your credit cards without a plan, that's probably not a wise choice. In the comment section below, I would love for you to share whether or not you are currently using your credit card to cover your bills, and if so, what are some of the additional benefits that you find by doing so? Thanks so much for stopping past to check out the Simple Dollar YouTube channel. We hope that this is not your last time here. Keep coming back for more great personal finance content, and we'll catch you in the next one.